Give me 30 seconds. I'm sorry, give me 30 seconds. I'm just having problems projecting my screen. I apologize. Okay, here we go. Um, hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Mark from Right Line Trading. And what I want to do is I want to go over the sort of the didactic portion of this as fast as I can, because what I really want to do is I want to get to the charts and show you how to take really great trades. There are two trade setups using the order flow Laguerre system, and I want to show them to you on multiple markets, multiple time frames. So I want to go through the background relatively quickly, and I would imagine that a lot of traders in the room either own the Laguerre or the Laguerre order flow, and really they're just looking for information on the best ways to trade it. So let me just go through the background material, which I think is important, as fast as I can. I know I have an hour, which is a lot of time, and then Lee follows me. So let me just quickly go with the mandatory disclosure that all signals and trading opportunities provided both oral, written, or electronically that are disclosed to subscribers are for educational demonstration purposes only. Right Line takes no responsibility for participation by subscribers within the futures of Forex markets or for any profits or loss that may be incurred. Participation in trading in the Forex futures and stock markets involves risk, and it should be understood that you can lose a significant amount of money, and this is not for everyone. Those of us here at Right Line are not registered or licensed commodity trading advisors, and you may want to consult with one before making a trade. Now, I want you to understand that if you're new, so I don't want to go too fast, but I want to go faster than normal. And I want to talk about the oscillator, which is a very misunderstood trading instrument. A lot of traders use it, but I don't think a lot of traders really understand how to trade it right. And I really didn't know how to use it right until I did a lot of work and research on it. I mean, if you look at YouTube, there are very, very few videos. In fact, I couldn't find any. Just talk about oscillator fundamentals and what the best way to use it is, because it really is a very powerful tool. Now, the instrument was created by George Lean in 1957. And what he found is, and what he created it for was a way of assessing momentum on a trade. And momentum is a second order derivation. And what momentum tells you is the rate of change of speed. So if a car is going around a racetrack at 150 miles an hour and it's neither decelerating or accelerating, momentum is constant. Momentum isn't going up and it isn't going down. And if it was measured on an oscillator, the oscillator line or the percent K line would be flat. Now, as momentum increases, the rate of change of speed has got to constantly go up. So the race car driver has to go from 100 to 110. But then for momentum to increase, he's got to go from 110 to 130. The rate of change of speed has to get bigger and bigger and bigger. If it goes from 100 to 110 to 120 to 130, momentum is increasing, but the rate of change of speed is constant. So you want that speed to be constantly going faster and faster and moving up at a faster and faster pace. I hope that was clear. So the stochastic, and what he felt was that momentum leads price. So that when there's a change in momentum will occur before a change in price. So that he used the stochastic oscillator solely as a tool to look at divergence. He did not create it or look at it as a tool to track a trend. He simply looked at it as a way of looking for bearish or bullish divergence. And that's the only way he recommended trading it back in 1957. Now here's the oscillator formula. Now this is just, they're just variations of this in relative strength. There's a variation of this in Williams percent K. They're all basically variations of the basic stochastic oscillator formula. And it's just important to know what you're looking at when you're looking at the percent K line. And the C, which is the most recent closing price, is simply being compared to the average low of the previous 14 candles or the average high of the previous 14 candles. So on a long move, as the close approaches the high, momentum is increasing. And on a short move, as the close approaches the low, you've got momentum increasing to the downside. And that is what creates that percent K line. And the percent D is just a slower percent K. It's a three period moving average of percent K. So if you look at a double top back in 1957, what George Lane was saying was that when you had momentum divergence, it was very likely going to herald a collapse in price. And if we look at what he's talking about, price here accelerated up to this high really quickly, and it created momentum right up to here. Price here accelerates up to this high much more slowly. So the acceleration of price here is diminished. So you have less momentum to the upside on this double top, on the second top, than you do on the first top. And since momentum was lower on this trade, even though it reached an equal high, its acceleration up to that high was much slower than it accelerated up to that high. And he felt, and you can see the price tried to make another high on the same amount of momentum as on the previous high. Here the price was even lower, and then the market collapsed. So that's really the theory of divergence. That when you make it equal high or a higher high, but momentum is less, you're making that high on price that accelerates up to that area or accelerates down to that area with less momentum, it's going to be a harbinger of either a collapse to the downside or a reversal up to the upside. Now, back in 1957, this was very likely to be the case, and we'll talk in a minute about why that's true. Now, I just gave another example where price makes a higher high on equal momentum. So the acceleration to this high and the acceleration to that high were equal. But if price makes a higher high, you needed to accelerate up to that high faster. And when you get equal high momentum on a higher price, it's going to tell you that price is going to collapse, and you can see that it does. Now, again, back in 1957, this is an old slide I pulled off of the internet. When the percent K line, and we know what that is, it's just the moment, it's the assessment of momentum, crosses the overbought line, which is the 80 line, to the downside, get a down arrow and price is going to fall. When it crosses the oversold line, the 20 line, to the upside, going to get a long signal. Crosses to the upside, here to the upside. This doesn't work to the downside, but in general, it's a very accurate assessment. To the upside, above the 20 line, it works. So it was a great way of tracking reversals in price, simply by looking at momentum. But this is not the way George Lane used it. George Lane used it solely to track divergence. Now, the problem now is that the markets are changed dramatically. And we both know that overbought doesn't always mean overbought. And an oscillator can stay overbought for a long period of time. And we also know that divergent signals very, very commonly fail. If you trade divergence, you're likely going to get really hurt because divergence no longer works. And remember, if a signal works sometimes and doesn't work other times, and you can't make an assessment of risk on the trade, well, okay, well, this is a high probability divergent signal. This is a low probability divergent signal. You can't make that assessment. Divergence is divergence, and it's either going to work or not work. And when it works sometimes and doesn't work other times, it's useless, and you're going to take a lot of losing trades. And here's the reason why. This is my feeling. When oscillators were first developed, there was little institutional volume in the market, and the power of each buyer was pretty much equal to the power of each seller. But this is no longer true, and institutional volume now dominates, and that determines the direction of price. In 1957, the market consisted primarily of all small commercial traders. Today, in certain markets, 75 to 80% of all the volume is institutionally generated. And institutions can push a market up and up and up, and until they step aside, you're never going to get a high. It doesn't make any difference whether you get 12 divergent signals. And you know that traders get caught in that counter trend move over and over again. Can't use it anymore. And so what I've done is I've created sort of a series of trading rules in this era of institutional volume. And one of those, the first one is that there's no such thing as overbought or oversold, and this is now a fallacy. Institutional money is what determines it. Now, if institutional money determines what's overbought or oversold, when a market's going to reverse or when it's going to turn, can there be any mathematical derivation? Can there be any way of assessing based on any indicator analysis or price action analysis when the market's hit a top or when it's hit a bottom? And the answer is absolutely not. And I'm telling you, if anybody's trying to sell you any software that calls tops and bottoms, you're going to wind up getting beaten up because you simply have to trade the trend, which in most cases is created by institutional money. And what the purpose of the indicators that you're going to look at now is to track money flow. And markets reverse solely at the whim of institutional money. And when there's no institutional money participating in the market, it very likely chops, like the NASDAQ did in the last hour of trading. Now, the one principle that still definitely applies is that price wants to revert back to the mean, back to mean price. And that can be defined by your 50-period moving average, 100-period moving average, doesn't matter. As long as it's a moving average that tells you that's the average price of the financial instrument over a given period of time. The longer the moving average, the more power it pulls price back to it. We used a 50-period, and price is always going to want to come back to that mean price, but it's not going to do it until the institutional traders step aside. And what I found is that the farther off the mean that institutional traders push a financial instrument when they eventually step aside, which is something that you or I are never going to know when, the quicker it snaps back to the mean. If we could know when institutional traders step aside, we would be billionaires. But sometimes they sort of take a breath and then they come back and buy that same instrument with a vengeance. You really cannot know when they're done. So trading divergence today is tantamount to trading against money flow or against institutional money. You can only trade in the direction of money flow. Forget any signal or any type of setup in which you try to pick off a top or a bottom. And I've been trying to do it for 10 years, and I'm telling you, you can't do it. I mean, I've traded double bottoms and triple bottoms off of pivots and all sorts of support as a bottom. Nothing is going to hold up for you as long as institutional money still wants to push that financial market lower. It just doesn't matter. Now, I know there's software out there that is supposed to give you, in 6 weeks, the E-mini S&P high. Well, that's baloney, because the E-mini S&P high in 6 weeks is going to be determined by one factor, and that's institutional money. Now, institutional money, whether they buy or sell it, obviously is going to be based on a lot of fundamentals that nobody can foresee. Whether there's a trade deal with China, on a lot of economic indicators that haven't been released yet. But there's no mathematical way of telling where the E-mini is going to turn 6 weeks from now. And if there isn't a mathematical way of determining where it's going to turn 6 weeks from now, there's no way of determining mathematically where it's going to turn 2 seconds from now. You can determine a 2-second turn. You can determine a 2-week turn. None of them can be determined. So we're looking for an indicator that assesses buying and selling pressure and ignores divergence. And with it, then you're indirectly following the footprint of big money. We never trade divergence. What we're looking for is an oscillator that tracks institutional money via its momentum assessment. And it creates that momentum assessment in a very different way than relative strength or RSI, than percent K, and stochastic, and the whole boatload of indicators that really use that basic same formula, but just kind of tweak it. And it really is the Laguerre. I mean, it is the Cadillac oscillator. It's terrific. It has a user-defined gamma factor, which we have defined for ourselves. And it has multiple filters here. And what they do is they allow you to change its sensitivity and specificity, which ultimately determine its speed and its stability. So we've optimized that Laguerre line. And you'll see that it trades very differently from all the other oscillators. Now, this is just some examples of how we use it. Now remember, you can use it on any time frame and you can use it on any financial instrument. If the principle is not operational on every time frame and every financial instrument, then it's broken. I mean, if you're told that it doesn't work on stocks, but it works on futures, something's wrong with it. It's got to be a universal, it's got to be an indicator that tracks some force that universally determines the future direction of price. And it doesn't matter what that financial instrument is. And it can't matter what that financial instrument is. And it can't matter what the time frame is. If it works, it's going to work on every time frame. And I just want to go back and say, this is another reason why, I mean, the Japanese rice traders created Japanese candlestick patterns, of which I'm a huge fan. I really like Japanese candlestick patterns. But when they created them, they had the same theory as George Lane, that the power of every buyer equals the power of every seller. That in that manner, an engulfing candle, a shooting star, a doji, those patterns had a lot of power. Now, when institutional traders come in, they just run right over any Japanese candlestick pattern. What you need to do is get in right behind them. And it's the same thing. I know there may be a lot of fib advocates out there and some traders who like Elliott wave and Gann theory. Gann theory and Elliott wave theory postulate there's a certain intrinsic harmonic in the market. Now, and that's very, very likely. I mean, it's a closed system, and closed systems often have some intrinsic harmonic or some intrinsic way that closed system behaves. But when some outside force impacts on the system to skew it, that natural harmonic is destroyed. And when institutional money is applied to a closed system, like the Qs or any financial instrument, Elliott wave, Gann theory, Japanese candlestick formations all get destroyed, and also fibs. I don't know that fibs ever had any mathematical relevance at all in the first place, and tons of people trade them. But they're supposed to predict out into the future where price is going to stop at resistance or at support. That's not going to happen because institutional money is going to make that determination, and all we can do is track it. Now, pivots are completely different. I'm going to show you on the chart why a pivot is very important. But pivots are created by real price and real changes in direction. They're not, magical areas of support and resistance like fibs that don't take into account price action on your trading chart. Now, when the Laguerre moves from oversold and crosses the 20 line, you get an arrow, which is going to flash intra-candle and print when this line crosses the 20 line. Now you can enter right here, and you're going to wait for the Laguerre to lock long, and you're going to keep buying because we're not looking for divergence. When the Laguerre is locked up at 100 or any place between 80 and 100, it means that institutional money has created an enormous amount of buying pressure here. And we're just going to take it and continue to ride this market up. Now we can exit on this Laguerre cross of the 80 line down, or we can exit on a break of support. But what I'm trying to illustrate here is the principle. When the Laguerre locks long, we look to go long and stay long. And this is a better example of the 1 minute chart. I put here, I like this 60-minute chart the best. Well, on this 60-minute, there's the Laguerre cross down across the 80 line. And then the Laguerre locks short. Now, if you're trading divergence, you're going to look to fade the short. What we're going to do is we're going to stay short as long as the selling pressure And only institutional money can lock the Laguerre down and keep it down like this. And we're going to simply ride this market down. And then as soon as the Laguerre momentum turns on this arrow, we can exit on a huge amount of profit. Here's the same principle again. The Q's on a daily. You can exit on the arrow or exit on the principle is the same. We are trading in the direction of institutional money, and we are trading a lockup of the Laguerre long. Futures, the same thing. There's the cross of the Laguerre across the 80 line down. Here it's where it locks short. And we're going to ride, this is crude oil, to the short side. I think it's crude. There's our exit. Same thing. Laguerre arrow, short, cross of the 80 line to the downside on this I think it's cyan. I'll just call it blue. And then when it locks short, we're going to stay short, and we exit on the arrow. It's a completely different way that a lot of traders look at the oscillator. They tend to shy away from getting into a trade when the oscillator is locked long or locked short, because they've been taught that this is where the market's likely to turn, but that's wrong. This is where the market is likely to continue to ride up. Now, you need a good entry, and you can't just jump in. But if you look to fade the market here, now here's the Laguerre versus your standard stochastic oscillator. And I just pulled this right off of NinjaTrader. It's got standard inputs. Remember, this is made to track divergence. It's not made to track a trend. So there's the Laguerre entry on the cross of the Laguerre line across the 80 line. Here's the oscillator entry or the stochastic entry. You get in earlier, you get in later. But look what happens to the oscillator line. I'm sorry, the stochastic line. It jumps above the 20 line, and you have to exit the trade. But look at the Laguerre. The Laguerre barely budges, and it stays short, and it stays locked down. And you weather this up candle, and you weather this up candle. It's no sweat. Look at the slope of the Laguerre, and then it locks. So where the stochastic oscillator blows you out, the Laguerre keeps you locked short. And at the very least, it's going to keep you from taking this ridiculous counter trend trade. And you can see, what are these traders trading? They're calling a bottom here, and they're calling oscillator divergence on some time frame, MACD divergence, Fibonacci, Elliott wave, Gann theory. Who the heck knows? And we don't really have to care. The great thing about it is it's going to help to propel this trade to the short side. Because every time these long trades caught in the counter trend direction get run over, they have to sell their contracts, and they help propel the trade to the downside. So it's great every time we get a retracement long in a short move or a retracement short in a long move. It's just traders trying to move the market in a counter trend direction, and we're going to run them over. We're never going to follow them. You can see long here, long here, long here, long here. And I don't know what happens out here, but there's three longs. The next one's a down. I have no idea if the market continued lower. The point is, we're never taking a divergence signal. We're never calling the bottom because nobody can do it. And here's another trade. I'm going to talk about the number one entry and the number two entry when we get on the chart. This is a number two entry. It's simply a move down, a retracement long, and a continuation trade without the Laguerre arrow. And remember, when you continue to take the trade short, you're trading on a locked Laguerre. Now, this is also with order flow. So I'm going to move off the slides because I haven't even talked about order flow yet. So let me get off of these and just talk about order flow as briefly as I can. And I have to switch slide decks because I just want you to know how I'm just going to show you how we calculate it. That's it. All right, if you hang on 1 second. Let me bring up the other slide deck. Well, this is how I had no time at all to get set up here, but it's right here. So I have to find it. Oh, here it is. Nope, that's my cheat sheet for our system. Oh my gosh, hold on 1 sec, I'm sorry. Let me just move this off. Hopefully this is it. I'm giving it a shot here. Hold on 1 minute. Yeah, this is it. Okay. Let me bring this over. I want to do real quick on order flow. Now, order flow is another really important force that moves the market. And there's a lot of ways to calculate order flow. And I have looked at a lot of software that tries to predict the future movement in price. Now, if you use the market delta and you use, I don't want to get into this red line and this green. I mean, this green bar shows you that buyers are increasing on the bid-ask side. This is telling you that sellers are selectively increasing. Let's just forget about all this. Let's look at the market delta, which is the sum of all the buyers and sellers on the dome. On the bid-ask side of the dome, it's looking at market depth. It's not looking at executed trades. And it's telling us that there are more buyers than there are sellers. And that there should be buying pressure and this candle should trade to the upside. Now, I have looked at commitment of traders, which is the point of control of every candle. I'm telling you, it's not going to help you. The COT of an individual candle doesn't have enough predictive power. It does not work. The whole volume profile, if I went into the math of it, I don't want to do it now. It's a mess. But the market delta number has value. If there are more buyers on the dome than there are sellers, there is buying pressure here. The problem is that there are outliers in which there's a positive delta, but the candle closes to the downside. And that's because there are aggressive sellers. And what an aggressive seller is someone who believes that the market is going to fall and is willing to accept a lower price than other traders normally would in anticipation of a big move to the downside. You know, it's sort of like if you were going to sell your house and you knew that a meteor was going to come and fall on top of it and nobody else did, you'd be an aggressive seller. I mean, you'd want to unload that house at any price because you knew in a very short period of time it's going to be crushed. So you get rid of it and sell it to anyone. Well, that's what an aggressive seller is. And when you have aggressive sellers, even though the delta can be positive, the candle can close to the downside. Now, there's a way of looking for aggressive buyers and sellers. but I'm telling you, it doesn't have much predictive ability. And if you look at this chart, you'll see that in general, a positive delta leads to an up candle. And in general, a negative delta leads to a down candle. But those outliers kill its absolute predictive power. So if you look at the way this is created, this is simply the magnitude of the positivity of the delta. Now, it doesn't matter because you can have a massively positive delta on a down candle. So the right edge here is irrelevant, and the size of this curve doesn't have any predictive power. You can't look at any individual delta or any moving average or track of just this delta value to create any kind of assessment as to where the charts, as to where price is going to close on the right edge. I mean, obviously you're in a strong uptrend here. And if you've got a really positive delta, this would go up, but you may wind up with a down candle. So this delta assessment cannot be used. Now, market profile and all that other stuff will not help you. So what we've done, but this is an important number. So what we've done is we've simply figured out a way of throwing out the outliers. We only utilize that one standard deviation's worth of data, and the outliers we simply boot out. And those are the outliers that skew the data, where you get a down candle, an up candle on a negative delta, and an up candle on a down candle on a positive delta. We throw those values out, and here's how we do it. First of all, any indicator that makes an assessment of its data or does its calculation based solely on your chart data isn't going to have much future predictive power. Now, the Laguerre is unique to that because it's doing a second order derivation, but almost no indicators do that. So what you have to do is you have to look at the two higher time frames. So our order flow assessment is simply done by looking at the two higher time frames than your chart. If you're trading a 2-minute, it looks at a 6-minute and an 18-minute. If you're trading a 5 range, it looks at an 8 range and it looks at a 13 range. If you're trading a 2-unit Renko, it looks at a 4-unit Renko and a 6-unit Renko. And it looks at the delta values of the candles of those higher time frames. Now, they don't have as much predictive power as you would want either. So we put them into a 15-period simple moving average. And because we smooth the derivation over 15 average market deltas, we in essence throw out the outliers. And since we're looking at two higher time frames that must align, we really do get rid of those of that skewed data and simply look at that one standard deviation's worth of data. So when both 15-period SMAs are sloping up, the bulls are in control. And when both 15-period SMAs are sloping down, the bears are in control. And when the 15-period SMAs are not in agreement, the line is yellow. So now you have an absolute direction to trade. The Laguerre is giving you one absolute direction, and now a completely different derivation that's done off of the higher time frames tells you the only direction you can trade. And when those two 15-period SMAs on the higher time frames are sloping up, this line is green. And you can only trade long. These counter trend traders are going to get beaten up. Here, you can only trade long. Now, if you dare to try to call a top, at least let order flow turn. I never take a counter trend trade, but if you're going to try to do it, don't trade it against order flow. Here's another example. You have to trade in the direction of order flow. If you don't, I'm telling you, you're going to get stopped out. And if one of your problems is you're getting stopped out a lot, it's probably because you're not trading in the direction of this line. And this has tremendous future predictive power because it's taking its derivation off your two higher time frames, and your two higher time frames are always going to lead price. What we're looking at here to lead price is simply the analysis of the market delta values of the two higher time frames put into a 15-period SMA. It's a very difficult calculation, and it's a twitchy calculation, but it really works. You're going to see this turn first and up. Yellow, you don't trade. It turns red, and then the market will turn down. It turns green, then the market will turn up. Now, this keeps us out of a lot of losers too, because we get some long signals with down order flow, and if we would have taken them, we wind up with a loser. It also helps us define chop. When order flow keeps changing direction, the market's just going to chop around. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out right now, and I'm going to show you a chart. And let's just go to a live chart. I just have to build it because you know what? What I'm going to do is, well, I don't think I can do it here. Let me see if I can open NT8. Let me put in NinjaTrader 8. Here it is. I'm going to open NT8. It'll only take a minute to open. It's very fast. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my NT7. If I can find the control panel. It's right here. All right, just close NT7, and I'm waiting for NT8 to boot. There's a control center just popped. Now this works on 7 or 8. I'm just going to use the NT8 version, that's all. Here we go. Charts are loading. Now it just has to populate. Take this off and drop it. And here we are. Now let me open up the chart and let me show you what we've done. Now the top line is the order flow line. But we have a lot of lines here. And you don't really want to have to make a complicated analysis. You want the chart. I put up the twitchiest, I've used Twitch twice, but one of the most difficult instruments to trade, which is the NASDAQ. And I'll leave it up. But the results of order flow are projected onto the candle halo. Now, if you open up the order flow indicator, you can see that I have elected to surround my candles royal blue if I have up order flow, and magenta if I have down order flow. You can make it any color you like, and you can make the candle thickness any color you like. Now, if the data is here on the candle halo, then you don't need to see this line. But I wanted to show it to you to make sure you knew it was on the chart. So what I simply do is I go to order flow. Now on NinjaTrader 8, I'm going to make it a width of 1. Make it really small here, so you can hardly see it. I know it's there somewhere. It's calculating. There's the line. And what I'm going to do is, whoops, I just want to drag it. Obviously not a very good dragger here. I think I should have dragged it first before I made it small. Here we go. I'm just going to put it down here. And then I'm going to close it up. Order flow is gone. And the only thing now I'm projecting is the long term. This is the multi-time frame Laguerre right here. And here's the Laguerre of our trading chart right here. And the candle halo is order flow. And so now now we have an easy assessment. And let's just take, let me give you an example. Today was a really hard day to trade the NQ. But I'll show you my first trade. My first trade was right here. I broke the pivot. 2/3 of the candle was above. My long-term Laguerre was green. This is a very, very powerful indicator. It's a multi-time frame assessment of momentum. And I'm telling you, you want it with you on the trade. It's right here. And I want my chart Laguerre to be moving in the direction of my long term. And I want the candle to be outlined and have order flow in my direction. And I got a nice long trade right there. The next trade I took, well, that's the whole day so far. Let me see where it was. It was pretty soon afterwards. And I'm not sure where it was here. That was the first. You know what? That might not have been the first. That might have been the second. He was the first. Let me find it. What the heck was it? Hold on a second. I can't find my first trade. Hold on. And the trade actually, the trade went right through a pivot. This was this trade. I mean, that was one of the trades I took. And I'm looking for the other. And if I could find it, it would be nice. I can't locate it. It doesn't make any difference. I just can't find it. It was a nice winning trade. And it went about 24 ticks. And I just don't see it here. But it had my long-term Laguerre, my short-term moving into the long-term, and it had order flow. Now, I just want to talk briefly about the pivots, which are really, really important. And you see what happens. Now, as part of the offer, we're going to give you the pivot indicator. When price comes up to a pivot, you cannot trade it. It's likely to turn. And the reason is that most pivot indicators do not work correctly. They take it off the wick high. You must take it off the candle body high. That's really where the sellers are here and where they're going to turn the market. And the break of a pivot is when 2/3 of the candle body closes above it. And one of the trades I took, and it might have been this one, on this pivot break right here, this trade shot up so fast it gave me 6 ticks of slippage because I stopped out all the residual sellers that are in this pivot. And only a 2/3 candle body break is going to give you the entry. And you have to do it with order flow. And it's going to fly. This is a 15 EMA this is a 50 EMA of a 50 EMA. It's a very it's an optimized moving average. This is a 15 EMA of a 15 EMA. This is also part of the platform. So let's take a look at the NASDAQ and take a look at this trade. Oh, this is a number one trade. It's a trade right off the Laguerre arrow, right here. And here's your long-term Laguerre assessment. The Laguerre comes up above the 20 line to give you the arrow. It occurs intra-candle. So you have plenty of time to set your buy stop 1 tick above the close. The candle doesn't close to the upside. You just cancel your trade, and you got a gorgeous winner. And you'll notice the candle has to be haloed in blue, telling you that you have a multi-time frame assessment of order flow in your direction. And that's our number one trade right there. That's our not our number one, but that's a number one configuration on the trade. Now I'll show you a number two configuration. Here's a number two. Price comes down, then it pulls back. You see the wick? You're in 1 tick below on the continuation trade short. That's a number two configuration. You don't get in on the Laguerre arrow. You get in on a retracement in a confirmed trend. And you can see that the multi-time frame assessment of momentum, the Laguerre here, is red. The Laguerre on our trading chart is locked red. Order flow is on a multi-time frame basis, shows significant selling pressure, and the likelihood of this continuing to the downside is exceedingly high. Now, we only go short below the 50, long above the 50. To take a short trade, we need the 50 down, the 15 down, and the 15 below the 50. Those are our trading rules. I believe that when price is below the 50, the bears are in control. When price is above the 50, the bulls are in control. And in order to take a short trade, we always have to trade on the side of the 15. If we want to take a short trade, we have to have the 15 below the 50. If we want to take a long trade, we need the 15 above the 50. So, I mean, look at this. See, this is a trade you can't take. I remember this trade. Our long-term assessment of order flow was not there. But here's the trade right here. It's a number two configuration, continuation trade. It's at 10:16 in the morning on the NQ. It's a gigantic winner. Both Laguerres are locked short, which is a great sign that institutional money has created an enormous amount of selling pressure here. And you've got order flow on the candle. Now you'll notice this up candle, it's got down order flow. So what is the likelihood that the market is going to turn? Why are these traders going long? I'm telling you, they're trading off a fib. They're trading off of oscillator or MACD divergence. They're calling a bottom right here. And we should be so happy they are, because they help push this trade down when they all get stopped out. Now, here's a pivot. And you see how important it is to not even consider anything. It's the pivot, bounces. It's the pivot, bounces. It's the pivot, bounces. And the pivot's not up here. The pivot's here. 99% of the pivot indicators are going to put your pivot at the wick high, and that is wrong. Now, I have to stop here because I want to show you the offer and I want to answer questions. But I'm telling you, this is going to work right here or right here. It's really hard. Here's your continuation trade on the pullback and continuation with both Laguerres lock long and order flow with you. I mean, you can really tear the NASDAQ apart if you stay ultra conservative. You wait for the multi-time frame Laguerre to turn in your direction, and then the chart Laguerre to turn in your direction, to turn in the direction of the multi-time frame, and always trade with the candle halo in the direction you want. And you can make that halo any color. Now, let me quickly show you the offer, and then I'll answer any questions. If I can find it, which I probably can't. And I may just run 5 minutes over, and I will apologize to Lee. Lee's a great guy, and I don't want to take up any of his time. Let me just find the other deck, and I'll show you the offer here. I mean, I finished in the trading room today at 8 seconds before I think when I open this, I should be able to open them both at the same time, but I don't think so. Let me see if I have the offer here. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I think I do. I thought I did. Hold on. I'm just going to take out a lot of stuff here. I'm just going to show you the offer by deleting a lot of stuff. Now the system is $6.99, and with it, you get a 10 module educational training session. You get a video tutorial library with 450 videos, and you get a month in the trading room with me, which will be very, very valuable for you to help you trade. The first 10 traders will get, the first 10 people come aboard will get the pivot indicator, which is really, I think, very, very helpful to trade. And you get lifetime upgrades. If we do anything to make the system better, you get it forever as a free upgrade. And today the offer expires on Sunday night. And just let me quickly answer any. Now, if you have just the multi-time frame Laguerre and you want to upgrade to the full Laguerre order flow, it's half. It's $3.99. So just remember, if you have the multi-time frame Laguerre and you want the order flow component, it's $3.99. If you have nothing and you want this full system, it's $6.99 lifetime. And you're never going to pay again, except if you want to continue in the live trading room, which I believe you will. So starting Monday, we're trading the E-mini and the DAX. And I think it's going to be a very lucrative. Now, let me quickly answer any questions that there are. And I'm only going to take a maximum of 5 minutes. Hey, Hardy. You know what, Hardy? The size bar that you trade totally depends upon if you're looking to day trade. I recommend a Unorenco. I love Unorenco bars. We'll configure them for you. We do all the configuration on the system. Sergio will get on your computer and configure everything. We'll give you all the inputs. The other thing that we do is we're going to give you target 1, target 2, your stop, everything. Now, if you want to swing trade, you can still use Unorenco. So it really all depends upon what your goal is, Hardy. if as far as that's concerned. Hi, Howard. Thank you so much, Howard. Hi, Eric. The auto should be available next week, Eric. The NDT should be available early next week too. And this is being recorded. RK, Rory, what part of this is available on Thinkorswim? The Laguerre is available. RK, the Laguerre multi-time frame is available on Thinkorswim. The order flow is not. The market's live now, and I wish I could do it for you. But when you come into the trading room, you're going to see that, Hayward. Ian, let me see if I can change. Listen, it doesn't make any difference what time frame you use. Let me show you a 1 minute really quickly. Here's a 1 minute. Now, obviously, this is a little bit of a tougher assessment, but here's your trades. Long, right here. This is the NASDAQ. So trading this right here, long. Now, this is a counter trend trade. You really can't take it. Here's your short trade. When these two align and the candles outline in cyan, and look at this great short trade right here. Here's your entry. Now it's really right here. And you can take this short all the way. That's a very fast speed, a 1 minute on the NQ. Does not matter. You've got order flow and the multi-time frame Laguerre. It's always going to put you in the right direction, and you're going to have legs on the trade. I'm telling you, it's time independent. Does not make any difference what time you're using. No, I got it. With the Unorenko offset of 10, how do you know where the actual high and low are? Bob, we're going to give you something that I didn't want to get into it, but we're going to give you our hybrid candles, and they're going to show you where the actual high and low is. So you don't have to worry about it. That's a great question, and I'm running into 5 minutes. I don't want to take any more time, but I didn't put it on this chart. But our hybrid candles, which I may have on enough, actually show you all the information that you're looking for, Bob. I know exactly what you want, and we use it and we leverage it. And that is, you can see the wicks inside every hybrid Unorenko, every Unorenko candle. They're not solid. They're transparent, and the wick inside our software creates. And that's called our hybrid Unorenko. So you're going to get all that data. Hardy, we're going to give you what we recommend on every instrument, and we're going to give you every ATM, every size. I'll show you really quickly, because I really want to be respectful to Lee. Now, this is the reason this is doing this is it's the wrong month. Hold on. Let me go to crude. There's the 5. And let me go to the Unorenko, which is what I really want to trade. It's on a 2 Unorenko. Let it load. And there's your here's crude oil. It works awesome on crude oil. And you can see when you've got both your Laguerre and your long-term Laguerre. Now you can't take this trade into the pivot. Here's the pivot breaker. Order flow is with you, both your long-term Laguerre and your chart Laguerre, and you can take this trade all the way. Because on this pullback, neither of these lines budge long-term green, short Laguerre green. And you've got, this is really a stellar trade. And you're going to find that you're going to get these over and over again. You just have to wait. Right here, you don't really have an entry unless we had a wick. I just don't want to take too much time away from Lee here. I'm gonna answer the rest of the questions in about 30 seconds. See, here's your short continuation right here. And these are all great trades. I remember these in the trading room. Right here, short. Right here, short. Both Laguerres, order flow. This one you couldn't take because you had a pivot. You don't trade into unbroken pivots. And here's a number one configuration. There's the arrow and down. Long-term Laguerre, red. Short Laguerre gives you the arrow. That's crude oil. It works on NinjaTrader, Wyman. And the Laguerre portion on Thinkorswim. Eddie, we optimize it and you have no gap. You don't have to worry about that. If you trade range, we'll do it for you. Scott, we don't get much slippage on the NQ. Today I got hammered by slippage. One of my best trades got 6 ticks, but it was a pivot breaker and it slammed through the pivot. When it broke the pivot, it snapped so fast I got 6 ticks. Normally, it is not a big issue. I'm telling you the truth. Normally, we usually get it maybe a tick or our entry. Mahalo, I would love to. I just don't have the time for the E-mini. I gotta yield to. Trust me, the E-mini trades just like the NASDAQ and crude. Believe me, gives you great entries. Yes, the Unorenkos are included, Robert. Not just the Unorenko. We're giving you our hybrid Unorenko. And as far as I know, we're the only group that has it. They're very, very clever Unorenko candles. My pleasure, Hardy. No problem, Hardy. You got it. These are Unorenkos, and right here, on this Unorenko, this size is we recommend on crude. Actually, this is a 248. We recommend. I don't have time to change it. This should be a 2, 5, and a 10. That's our recommendation. And we're going to give you all those recommendations. You don't have to worry about that. And we're going to configure everything for you. It's not going to change much. No, you can use Ninja to see the trades. You can place it on, you can use any platform. If you want to use Ninja Broker, you're good. It's good for NT8 too, Paul. This is NT8 that you're looking at. We're working on Sierra Dale, but we're behind. I'm telling you right now. No, if you come aboard here, Hayward, you're going to be in the trading room. Everything works on 7 and 8, Wyman. We will send the recording. We trade the E-mini, Janine. Oh, Scott's so funny. He says you shouldn't worry much about Lee. He's used to you doing this. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, we're running NT8 right now. Eddie, we'll configure them for you. Don't worry about the configuration and setup. Sergio really is a genius when it comes to computer configuration and code. He'll do that for you. It expires. No, it expires Sunday night, Ian. Yeah, I'm trading the DAX on Monday, Tom. Penny, I would say you're going to. I would say about 80% of your entries are going to be winners. If you're very conservative, 20%, you're pulling 20% losers. The biggest thing, and I'm going to end on this, is don't trade a low volume market. That's all. I mean, stay away from the NASDAQ when it's turning 200 or 300 contracts a minute. Stay away from crude when it's dead. Trade a market that's got good volume. And just trade those stellar entries with dual gears and order flow, a pivot break, or a number one. And I'm telling you, most of those trades are going to go. This is a trade you want to take, but you can't take it. The long-term gear does not set up. Here's where you get your winners, one after the other, after the other. As long as there's no pivot below you, that's all you need. Right here is a nice trade. So just stay conservative, and that's about where you're going to be, Penny. About 80%. So listen, everyone, I'm going to run. It's $6.99 for lifetime. I'm going to put you in the trading room for a month. You're going to get the pivot indicator. You're going to get the hybrid Unarenko, order flow, everything you see on the chart, and a million of videos to learn off of. So thank you so much for your time. I really apologize to Lee. I took 13 minutes of his time. He's a terrific guy. He's one of the most honest, forthright guys. If he tells you something about his system, you can believe it, because he's really, that's why I like to pair with him, because he's such a good guy. And this is a business where there are so many crooked people that I really like working with Lee. Lee's just a wonderful guy, and just as a human being, he's a good person. So I'm going to turn it over to Lee right now, and thank you all for giving me your time. Take care, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Mark. I always appreciate it. I'm not that great a guy. That's the truth. I'm okay. I'm an okay guy. Can you see my screens, everybody? And let me know if you can see my screens and hear me. You know what? I'm on the wrong screen, so hang on, because I'm not used to using someone else's GoToWebinar. Now you should be able to see my screen, I hope. There we go. All right. So I want to thank everybody. Say hello. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the director and the trade room host at JOBB, thenewstraders.com. We're the company with 7 names. Most people know us as JOBB. That's how we got started. And now we're thenewstraders.com. And pretty soon we're going to have a different name. And no joke, we're trying to just brand ourselves so people know exactly what we do. Today, taking a completely different approach. A lot of you know me. I see a lot of my members in the room. Totally different approach from what I normally do in a webinar. I just want to talk about our trade room today. Nothing else, not really selling our software system. We want to talk about our trade room because we want people to realize what we do in the trade room. Even our members, I invited all my members to come today because so many of our members, either they're trading during work hours and they can't get into the trade room, or they don't know everything that we're doing lately. We're doing a lot of different things that we never did before. And that's what this webinar is going to be about. So what's really interesting is I'm quite familiar with Mark's system. And before I forget, I want to thank Rory and Mark for inviting me to be here. I always love doing webinars with them for the same reason, because I think they're really, really good people with good software that works. And it's a funny thing. All my members are their members, and the reverse is true. It's like we trade members. One of my members will quit. I see another member is over at Mark's, then they come back to me, then they go back to Mark. It's like in this business, everybody runs around from guru to guru until they find something that they're comfortable with. It's just the nature of the business. We all did it, and we all do it forever, it seems. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Don't forget the usual risk disclosure. You can lose money trading futures. Don't trade more than you can afford to lose. Be smart about the way you trade, and also understand margin. Know that the broker is not going to take the risk for you. You have to be educated and be smart about the way you trade. And that's really the whole point of what I wanted to talk about today, really. Why is our trade room so good? I love our trade room. When I was a JOBB member when I started doing what we call, what I like to call event trading now. I don't like to call it news trading because news trading has a really negative connotation. And news trading, I can tell you right now that news trading is no riskier than any other kind of trading that you do. I've lost just as much money discretionary trading as I've lost news trading, and I've made just as much money discretionary trading as I've made news trading. The big difference with news trading or event trading is we can trade on a schedule, and that's one great thing about our trade room. Our trade room has a schedule. Every Sunday, I send our members, and I wasn't really planning on showing this, so let me just take a couple of things out of it that shouldn't be here for non-members. But our schedule looks something like this, and every Sunday I send a video and a schedule. So our members, they know that like Sunday night at 8:15, we're going to have a 15-minute trade room until 8:30. So you can set your whole week up around these short, quick kill trade rooms, I like to call them. And that's how we do it. And then, of course, we have special trade rooms where we'll just do maybe education only. We'll have trade rooms where we'll do education and trading. But generally, with us, you can trade around a very, very specific schedule. And that was one of the reasons that I got involved in this company. I just loved working on a schedule. I was sitting in front of the monitor all day long, waiting for trades, 8 hours a day. And by the time the day was over, I was exhausted and I was making bad trades by the end of the day. So I really enjoy trading on a schedule, and I love having scheduled trade rooms rather than a 24-hour trade room. Um, it's just easier, and it's much more controllable, and you know exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to set your week up, and we love doing that. So the big thing is, why should you even listen to me? I mean, who am I? What gives me the right to try and tell you what to do with your money? And I am you, if you think about it, and I know certain things because I've just maybe done it longer than some of you, but otherwise I'm no different than any of you. I'm no special, incredible market genius. I'm a regular person. I'm a musician, but maybe I've been doing this longer than you, so maybe I know a little bit more because of that. But that's the main difference. Otherwise, I was a JOBB member. I got attracted to trading news, events, earnings, things like that. So why should you listen to me? Because I study the market like a lunatic. That's really the whole deal. I'm a musician. I went to college for trombone. I was a New Yorker. I moved to Boston. I drove cabs. I learned piano tuning. I'm sure so many of you have similar stories. Went to college, dropped out of college, went back to college. I started trading because my mom needed help with her investments. I opened a Scottrade account, and I was the first time I ever traded a stock. That second, I knew I was addicted. I just knew it was something I had to get involved in forever. It was like the second I did it, I knew it was something I was going to do for the rest of my life. But I also realized that I couldn't stand sitting in front of the computer after doing it for years. I just couldn't take it anymore. And I realized that the less I trade, the more I make. The more I sat in front of those monitors, the less I made. And that's when I found JOBB. So here are what I think are the three top reasons why our trade room is awesome. And I really think our trade room is awesome. We help you find new trades. And this is not even counting the fact that our community of people is what makes it awesome. You know, we call them members, but our members are our family. And when somebody leaves to go to another service, it really, really hurts. I really want to know, make sure I didn't do something wrong when someone goes. And I understand this is a business where you got to make money. You got to, people like to jump around, but ultimately our trade room is awesome because the people are like our family, and we treat our members really with the greatest amount of respect. And that's why the main reason our trade room is awesome. But then the reasons, the business reasons that we're awesome. is because we help you to find new trades. We love our predictable schedule, and we help and we teach you to make money. And that's the whole deal with our trade room. Just this one crazy page that I made today has like 5 or 6 different ways that we can make money in our trade room. Number one, we use Talking Forex for a squawk box. Okay, so while I'm in the room and we're trading, we're listening to the news in the background or world events, and you're getting the benefit of that because I'm telling you, like, hey, I just heard on the squawk box, the president just had a Chinese trade agreement. The market's probably going to go up. Let's take a look. So that's one great benefit where we get news that you might not normally get. And this is a big deal about our trade room. We deal with things that our members don't even realize they're going to get as part of their subscription. And that's why I wanted to do this webinar just on the trade room. We want people to come into our trade room so they learn all the things that are available with their subscription if they also eventually want to go on to using our software. We have a trade called the magnet trade. Any platform can do it. We do it sometimes on Monday mornings. Right now, we happen to be working on a members trade on Monday mornings, but the magnet trade is something that anyone can do. You don't need special software, and we teach that pretty regularly in the trade room. We also have an end of the day, and that's an open trade. We have an end of the day trade that we've been working on in our trade room. It became unsafe. A great reason why it's so important to be in the trade room. We noticed that the trade became unsafe about 2 weeks ago. We took about a week off from trading it, started testing it again, and now we realize that trade is safe again. So the trade room is your view on what is safe and not safe to do. If you are one of our members, a member of our family is the way I like to think about it. We also have something that we call high impact report alerts. Now, if you take a trade like today's non-farm payroll, you know that we're big on news. Like I said, I hate to say news trading, but we trade the news live in our trade room. And today we had 2 possible trades. We had gold. Ironically, gold didn't fill today. I've never seen it happen in I think all the years that I've been trading, I've never seen an index not fill during non-farm payroll. Maybe once in 3 years, bonds didn't fill, and the NQ. If you had used our knowledge today and traded the NQ on our recommendation, this is how the NQ traded this morning at 8:30 when the non-farm payroll report. You can't. It happens so fast, even in simulation mode, which this is. I'm not a fraud. When I'm not trading live, I tell you, this was a simulated trade. We tested it because we realized our gold trade didn't fill and the NQ exploded. And I'll show it to you twice because it happens so fast. Boom, there it goes. The trade's over before you can even blink. And it wouldn't have made 700, but it probably would have made 300 on that trade. And that's another thing that I love about our trade room. Our trades are over sometimes in 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes at the most. It's an awesome way to spend your time because then you can go on and do something else for an hour, come back into the trade room if there's another trade that day. It's a great way to trade. So we have these reports. We call them HIRAs, high impact report alerts. They help you to learn how to trade specific events that are taking place in the market. Today it was non-farm employment, the US jobs report. We set up a bracket trade around the price. We know what the bracket size is. We know what time we're going to enter and set that bracket up. We know how long we're going to wait to see if we're going to cancel the trade, and we know how big our stop is. All of those things help to keep you safe, okay? And we are really big on being safe. We don't want anybody to lose money, especially if we're trading something. We want you to at least learn how to do it. The key for us is we want you to learn how to do it first. Then you can try to make money. Making money comes secondary to putting the time in to learn how to doing trading, which is a job. And the thing that I've realized after all the years I've been doing this is most people don't want to put the time in. They want it all handed to them, so that if you don't understand what you're doing and it just gets handed to you, then if something goes wrong or something's not quite right the way you expected, you don't know what to do. So it's better spend a little time, learn about what you're doing, and you'll be a much more powerfully successful trader. So we have these reports. They help you. Those reports, we go over them in the trade room. The trade room is the place where everything that we do, it's the flow. It's the place where everything that we do flows through. And our members, I know that there's members here that I don't see regularly in the trade room. In the past 2 weeks, we've discovered new trades that we don't even have reports for yet, but that we're going to trade them in the trade room. And let me just give you a crazy example. Mark said something really interesting. That was a 2-contract trade, Ray. That was a 2-contract trade, the NQ. Ray was asking about that video I was showing you. Let's double check that, Ray. I might have been 4. Let's take a fast look. Ninja will tell us. It was 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4. Okay. So the NQ is a very low margin instrument. You need a minimum of theoretically $500 per contract in your account. And you probably want to double that at least, if not triple it, if you want to trade really safely. But margin is something that the broker requires you to have a certain amount of money in your trading account. And this is true of all systems. You must have a certain amount of money in your account before they'll allow you to trade. Certain instruments like the NQ are less expensive to trade than, say, gold. Gold has a margin of 1,000 during the day, during normal trading hours, and the NQ has a margin of 500. So someone who has a smaller trading account can leverage their trading by trading an extra NQ contract, whereas with gold, it's 1,000, so you have to watch your money a little more carefully. Not that you don't with the NQ, but margins are different. You should understand what margin is. We try to help our members discuss margin in the trade room. Also understand that every broker can have different margins. I've looked at the margins for a broker called IB. IB happens to have very high margins. They don't really want day trading at all, because if they did, they would have more reasonable margin. So these are all issues that we cover in our trade room. And again, I'm just going to harp on how important and how fantastic I think our trade room is. I was saying that we discovered, a ton of new trades. We do very unusual things in our trade room. For instance, we'll set up a trade. This was a trade called CB Consumer Confidence. Ninja Trader 8 has a fantastic feature. It lets you trade multiple instruments in the same account at the same time on the same screen, unlike Ninja Trader 7, which needs 2 charts for a system trade. If you're using software, you can't enable that software and have your chart trader open at the same time as you can with Ninja Trader 8. So Ninja Trader 8, it lets me adjust my software if I want to use my software. But honestly, this webinar is not about software. It's about testing. It's about finding trades in the trade room that you might not know about. Now, CB Consumer Confidence, most people probably know that that's an impactful trade. So we were testing, but ironically, it hadn't been behaving very well, hadn't been trading well. So we figured, let's look at the yen, let's look at bonds, let's look at the ES, let's look at gold. We were able to test every single one of those indexes, and in a matter of a couple of minutes, The trading was done on all of those, and you could see they all were potentially positive, except for the bonds, and you'll see bonds will turn around. But by the time the testing was done, all the indexes were positive or finishing up positive. So now you have a situation where you look at your testing results, you can say to yourself, okay, gold is looking pretty good on consumer confidence. Let me go back and back test a couple of consumer confidence reports. Bingo. Knowledge I learned in the trade room gave me a way to find a trade and a way to trade it safely. If gold is working on consumer confidence, then that's the index I want to trade. If the yen is working on consumer confidence, that's the index I want to trade. What we do in our trade room is constant testing along with trading as well. So I can't stress that if you want to get involved with a company like us, a company that we've got our reputation on trading the news and we're expanding into trading news and events. And when I say events, we have a trade that we call the end of the day trade. It's a trade that takes place at the very end of the day, and it's an event. We discovered that at a certain time of the day, and I'm not going to give this one away because it's something our members get, but a certain time of the day, I could blast through a quick version of the trade. Certain time of the day, there's a huge little move in the market. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. More often than not, it works, but it explodes. And the market does it every single day. We discovered that in the trade room. We never knew it, never knew it. And then, ironically, about 2 months after we were trading it, the time of the trade changed. One of our members said, hey, you know what? Take a look at that trade. It's changed. The time of the day is different. Without the trade room, we would not know that. Now, let me just give myself some credibility and show you a real trade that I took this week so you know that I'm not a fraud. Show you a couple of real trades that people took in our trade room with us. We had the ADP report this week, and the ADP report is a news report. Automated Data Processing is a payroll company. They released a report. Before the report came out, I was up 25 bucks. It's an 8:15 in the morning trade. You'll see that my software is going to put our orders on the chart in a second or two. It'll show up. It handles the whole trade for me. And the news came out. We show the news, and the trade's over. I mean, the trade's done. While I was talking, the trade ended, and that was live, real money. I was up 25 bucks. 1 second after the news came out, I was up 195. And I trade small and conservative in the room. I have members that do the same trades that I do. And just to give you an example, one of our members sent me an ISM trade. ISM is a trade we traded this week. He traded ISM and made $5,000 on that ISM trade. That's live, real money. You can see the orders. Now he has a decent sized account. He probably traded, looks to me like he traded 16 contracts. That's a lot. But the average person can make $500 on that trade. A person with a large account who uses our trade room can make thousands of dollars on these trades. And the trades are over fast. That's one of the beauties of the trade room. So just to recap a little bit, we test over and over. I know that most people have never heard of the Kaishan report. Most people don't even know what it is. It's a Chinese news report. It comes out once a month. If you know that the markets are tremendously sensitive right now to Chinese news, that was a 6-second trade, $130 profit. You could see the 6 seconds, okay? 6 seconds, live account number. I'm not making it up. Not a test. That was a real one. So we figured, let's do a test this week. And this is what I love the most about the trade room. I love the testing. I truly enjoy the testing because from the testing comes the next $5,000 trade for one of my members. And there's nothing greater than when I get an email and a member sends me their graphic, and the graphic is something like last week's quarterly grain report. And one of my members live traded quarterly grain and Canada GDP. And at the end of the day, he was up $2,000. I'm telling the truth. I've crossed out his account number. And here's my quarterly grain report. Again, I'm trading safe, small, and conservative in the room because I'm teaching. Okay, so my goal isn't thousands of dollars trading too big for my account. I'll let all you guys do that and gals do it. I trade and teach really conservative and really safely so that our members can take what we teach and make it their own. So quarterly grains, I only made $225 in 40 seconds, I think it was, maybe 45, but it was less than a minute. That's my trade. You could see my money going up. Quarterly grains, I was actually expecting to make a lot more money on that trade, and it just didn't explode the way that I thought it would. You could see I'm trailing my price into the live profit. This was a live real trade. So I was up 2.25 by the time this trade was over. It was about a minute. Now, I would say that 90% of our trades take place that fast. Earl asks, where can I get a clock like yours? Earl, if you send me an email, and I'll type it in right now, support@joebrackettbreakout.net. Hopefully I typed it right. Send me an email and I'll send you the clock. Support@joebrackettbreakout.net. That's a free clock. It's great. It's really awesome to have it. I'd be happy to give it to you. So I believe you're going to love our trade room, because if you hate wasting time sitting in front of the computer, waiting hours for setups, you don't have to do that in our trade room. Our trades, as I said before, ISM non-manufacturing this week, 10 o'clock trade. Let me go like 3 seconds before 10 o'clock. We usually give half hour in the trade room for the really what we call our prime reports that every month work, month after month after month. One stop out every now and then, work, profit, stop out, profit, stop out, profit, stop out. No joke. We have about 8 prime reports. If you want to just trade 8 times a month, you can trade 8 times a month with us and then trade the rest of your time with Mark if that's what you want to do. And you could make money with both systems. And that's one great way to use our service. If you want to be able to trade on a schedule or use our education, because that's really what we are doing. We're giving education. Trade on a schedule so you can control your lifestyle, get in and out of trades in minutes. As I said before, the longer I stay in the market, the less I make. The less time I'm in the market, the more I make. It was always the way trading went for me. And I would say about 90% of all the people I watch trading struggle from the same issues. If you hate technical analysis, I can't stand technical analysis. I like to do as little as possible. If you trade with us, it's a minimum of technical analysis. You don't have to go back for weeks at a time and look at Fibonacci's and wave analysis that Elliott doesn't even know which wave to use. I mean, it becomes ridiculous after a while. Rob asks, I work during the day. Do I know if the software would work on a virtual computer? You can use a VPS, Rob. And there are many evening trades. We trade the Australian dollar. We trade Almost all the Australian trades are after 6 p.m. There are plenty of trades at unusual hours. The WASD trade, which is a grain trade, is lunchtime. So if you have a laptop and you have a little quiet space you could go into 10 minutes before the trade at lunchtime at noon, 10 before noon, you could come in and trade us also. Wave analysis, wave goodbye to your money. One of our members, Chantal, trades from work all the time. I see her in the trade room. I know she works. I know where she works because she helps me out in the trade room and in testing all the time. And I know she's trading from work. And literally, she'll spend 10 minutes and then go back to work. So what happens in our room? We review our reports. We talk about the trade. We look at the previous trade. We analyze the video. We discuss the markets, and we teach you how to make money. That's what this is all about. If we can teach you how to make money, then that is something awesome. Then we've done our job. If I can't teach you something that you can take with you for the rest of your life, then I have not done my job. And that's what my goal is. Education is absolutely in our DNA. It's the most important part of what we do. We teach you what not to do. We knew this morning that we had to cancel our trade. The trade wasn't working. If we would have stayed in it, it would have stopped us out. It would have pulled us in. It would have not moved very much. It would have gone up and down and chopped around, and it would have stopped us out. So we had a rule. If it doesn't fill in 10 seconds, don't trade gold on the non-farm report. It didn't fill. It happens. That's what life is all about, trying to be smart and safe if you're trading. I've got so many videos that I could show you. It's like, it's beyond belief. This was my ISM manufacturing trade. The first one I showed you was non-manufacturing. 10 o'clock trade. You could see the information comes out. We have various websites that we use to get the news that we're going to trade. We teach you how to do that in 15 seconds. That particular report was over. That event ended 18 seconds, and we made 180 because I was down $20 before the trade started. If I go back and show you the truth, it's a little blurry, but trust me, it's negative $20. So ISM, April 1st, and it's not April Fool's, it's really April 1st for real. We made 180 bucks in 14 seconds. Not bad. Okay. Our members, that was the one where one of our members, similar trade the month before. This is what he sent me that month before, a $5,000 trade. The key is not even so much the money he made. The key and the point that I'm trying to really get across is the info we give you in the trade room helps you to make decisions that we know are going to let you make money. And that's the truth. That is the truth. Ray is asking me, is there a time he can call and talk to me? Yes, Ray, absolutely. So Ray, before we're done, I'll give you a number you can call me on. Here are actual screenshots that our members sent to me. They love sending me screenshots. A profit of 220 in less than a minute. And these aren't like 500-year-old trades. These are recent screenshots. $960, a 10-second trade. $2,800, a gold trade. That was, I believe, last month's non-farm when gold worked really well. So we always have an offer. Everybody has an offer, but I want to just show you a couple of other things, okay? This is what we want to give you. And the price I'm going to give you is ridiculous. It's absurd because I think it's so important that especially our members, besides people that don't know us, I think it's so important that you get into our trade room on a regular basis so you start to truly understand all of the things that we're doing in the trade room. We noticed another thing we just started noticing. Oil is one of the hardest trades to trade. the oil storage report. It comes out every Wednesday. But I started noticing when I was going through the track record on oil and just looking the way oil was trading, it was trading incredibly manageably. Oil actually switched places with natural gas. Natural gas, we traded, I'd say, about half the year last year. We're profitable on natural gas, but I noticed in January, natural gas became unsafe to trade, and we didn't trade it this year. After getting stopped out, I got stopped out a few times on it. I said, you know what? I think natural gas is not safe to trade. And we went on and we found other trades to trade. And now we're noticing oil is really manageable to trade. It's fast, and you could see it's fast, but it's not so crazy anymore that it can't be traded. See how it just bursts through all my targets really quickly? Now we know that if you're not greedy and you make your targets a reasonable size, then you'll have a chance of doing well with this type of a trade. So again, what do we do in our trade room? We teach you how to figure out what your target should be. We teach you what your stops or brackets should be. These are the most important things in event trading that you can come across. So if you're attracted to this type of trading, don't let anybody tell you that it's too dangerous, because it's not too dangerous. We have done the research. If you Google slippage in trading, you will not find any more negative slippage than you will positive slippage. The point is this: yes, there are trades that you'll have a losing trade and you'll lose more than you expected because you might have something called negative slippage. Okay. But on the other side of the coin, there are just as many trades that you will have positive slippage. You'll have an 8-tick target and you'll make 12 ticks because the market's quick and it shoots through that target. And by the time it gets out, you've made an extra tick or two. Happens all the time on both sides. So the reason people are afraid is because they only remember when something negative happens. How many times do you go around telling people, oh man, I just had an awesome $100 trade? And people don't even think to themselves that a $100 trade is good. But I love $100 trades. I love hitting single after single after single. I love finding a $30 trade that nobody knew about, like the Canada Ivy report. Nobody's even heard of this report. I challenge you to tell me what this report is based on. We looked at it this week. I've been looking at this report out of the corner of my eye for about 4 months. And we trade, Canada's only $5 a tick, right? So Ivy, I only made $30 on it, but here's the point. We discovered a trade that clearly seems to move. It never used to move when the trade was first invented, but now that it's getting more popular, it's starting to move. Without knowing about our trade room and without spending time in our trade room, you would never know that to be true. Caixin, the Chinese news report. It's a manufacturing report. Chinese manufacturing data. The markets are really sensitive to it. So I figured, let's take a look at Caixin services. Don't you think that the markets probably would have some sort of reaction to Caixin services? So we looked at Caixin services the other night. It wasn't like I'm going to get rich on the trade, but we found a trade that, if you can see, I was interested in trading copper on it. And the volume was a little bit scary. It was a 9:45 in the evening trade, which also addresses the gentleman who asked about the times that we trade. 9:45. And again, we were just testing, okay? I made $25 trading it, and I was very concerned because copper only had a volume of 3,000. Copper. How did we know to trade copper on this? Because we know that Chinese news is sensitive to copper and the 6A, and there's also even a new index that if you want to spend some extra money getting an extra index, there's a Hong Kong index now that you can trade if you're an AMP trader as your broker. So there's all sorts of things that we're constantly letting people know about in our trade room. And I can just go over, I'll show you one more. My favorite type of trade is when we find out something like new homes, which we've never had an impact report alert for, but we've been looking at it for quite a few months. We tested it with the yen. The yen responds very well to US news these days. The 6J is the yen. Also the ZF, which is a note, it's like a bond, okay? A very low margin, very inexpensive instrument to trade. It's only $7 and change per target per tick. That responded nicely to the report. And also, we're always looking at gold. Gold these days is quite responsive to news. It was quite shocking that it didn't respond this morning. I'm still surprised. But new home sales, consumer confidence, there's certain types of news that we know from being in the trade room and testing the reports that the market is sensitive to, okay? And we learn that by testing trades in the trade room and then trading them live when they show us to be safe. New homes is we've tested it enough times that it's safe to trade. And next month, we'll trade it, and probably with gold because gold had the strongest move. But somebody with a tiny account, if they want to try just building that account up slowly, you could trade it with ZF, and that's a nice small way with high liquidity, safe, not a lot of whipsaws, safe, nice way to increase your account. Now, someone's asking, I didn't even tell you what our deal was. I just wanted you to see it. $7, we want you to come into our trade room for a month. If you like what you see, it recurs for $77 a month. It's still a steal. There are so many trades that if you can't make your money back, then you really have to think about whether trading is going to work for you. You know, it's like Mark System. If you buy Mark System and you can't make money with it, you got to think about it's trading the right thing to do. Not everybody should be trading. CPI as a gold trade, Jim, it's a great question. Great question. CPI has been a really difficult trade ever since they took it away from US retail. If you know the history of the trade, CPI and US retail, most of the time, about 90% of the time, traded together. They were one of what we call our prime trades, 70 to 80% profitable every month. And then they split the trade apart to CPI. And my personal opinion, Jim, is I'm now testing CPI with the ES, and it looks really, really good. Kenneth, you missed part of the webinar. Do you have to trade many different markets for the trade room to be beneficial, or could you just trade a few? You trade mainly the ES, but you're open to gold, oil, and the currencies. Also, is there a replay of this webinar? Okay, a lot of questions. Replay, yes. There will absolutely be a replay, no problem. You'll get it automatically. Anybody that comes into the webinar, you'll all get a copy of the webinar. The markets you trade are up to you. And, you know, this morning was the perfect example of what happened. Quite a few of my members, I said to them, hey, I've been testing the non-farm payroll on the ES, but the ES is a major, major, major trade, and I don't have a HIRA on the ES. And we have a system, and I'm not the only guy that works here, and I trade a company live trading account. So I don't just trade willy-nilly in the trade room. I almost always wait for a HIRA before I will change the instrument that I'm going to trade. In my heart of hearts, I knew the ES was going to be awesome today. It was awesome today. Um, and next month, I would bet that when I show one of the bosses who creates the hires how great the ES has been doing, that the hire will now include the ES as one of our major instruments for the non-farm payroll. Why miss a trade if I can prove that I have another alternative? So part of my job is as an investigator. I'm an investigator, and you could join me as a junior investigator for $7 a month. You could come into the trade room. $7 for the first month. It recurs for 77. Are there any upsells to the prices? Harry, there's always a million upsells to everything. If you want to use our software, then we have a different price for being a full-blown member, but we are very, very reasonably priced, Harry. And when I say reasonably priced, depending what sale we're having or what time of the year it is, our members, if I told you, I will say this, it's, I don't want to compete with Mark. I'll say this, to be a full-blown member, get access to our software, the price can be covered with 3 or 4 successful trades in 1 month, could easily cover what we charge for a year. All right, Harry, that's the truth. You've seen me make like 180 on a trade, 200 on a trade. Um, Figure 3 to 4 of those types of trades, and it'll almost always pay for a year of a full-blown membership. JT asks, do you need a Ninja Trader subscription? You don't need a Ninja Trader subscription if you want to just come to our trade room. You don't have to use our software. If you want to learn about news trading, we have some trades that you can trade on your own. If you can write an ATM with your software, your platform. I know people that are using TradeStation. Plenty of our members use Thinkorswim. They trade a lot of what we do manually. I love our software because it automates our trades, but you can do what we do with multiple platforms. Ninja is the software platform that we support with our program, and we do support NinjaTrader 8 and 7. And what JT says is really good info. If you open a live Ninja account, it's actually $500, JT. They will give you a live demo data feed. They'll actually give you a live demo data feed, live data, listen, live real data for 2 weeks on a demo account. You don't even have to open a full-blown funded account. For 2 weeks, they'll give you live data. You could actually come in, you could actually become our member for a month if you want to even use our software, try our software. And that's not what I was selling here today. I'm selling the trade room today, but we could talk about membership, etc. But you don't need a lot of money to open up a Ninja account, but you don't need anything except the platform you're using now to be a member of our trade room. We don't penalize you if you're not using our software. We try to help everybody equally. We support everyone equally. Our $7 members aren't treated any differently than our $100 members or our $77 members. It's like I said, education is our DNA. And Les says, hello, I'll have to learn how to bracket trade. Unless if you're willing to put a little time into learning how to bracket trade, then it's something that I truly believe you could be profitable on. But you want to take the time. You have to trust. You have to trust in the fact that I'm not looking to get you to spend month after month after month in my room so I can get your $77 or $99 or whatever it is, so you can spend your whole life learning. We want you to spend a month or so learning so that when you start trading live, you'll make money. We don't want you to rush into live trading in a week when you don't know what you're doing. And that's why the trade room is an awesome place. $7. I mean, to try us for a month to learn all you want to learn. I'm telling you, in a month, you're going to be so sick of hearing my voice, so sick of hearing about news trading. You're going to be so happy that you found us. I mean, I just don't know what to tell you. I wish I would have found myself for $7 when I first started trading. I was trading oil when I first started trading, and they charged me extra because I wasn't a member of the room. It was hundreds of dollars. I couldn't follow the trades. It was crazy. And when I came to JOBB, we didn't even have a trade room. And we started a trade room. And I said to the boss, I said, if I'm going to do this, we'll never allowed to penalize somebody if they don't want to use our software. And they've agreed always from the beginning to be really nice to people and members. And I mean, I can't tell you like how nice we are to our members. It's like a family. And I want more people in our trade room. And that's why I was so happy when Mark and Rory invited me to this webinar, because I knew I was going to charge $7 to get people into our trade room. You go to www.newjob.info, JOBB. We take PayPal, all the credit cards. If you have questions, you can email me. How can you lose? On average, how many trades do we take in the trade room on a day, in a day? Hey, Perry, it really depends. I would say you should probably look at it over the course of the month. We have probably 30 to 35 HIRA reports, but every day, Perry, we have an NQ open trade. Right now, we're testing it every morning, and it's looking pretty good. A lot of members are actually trading it live, and we have an end of the day trade. That's an everyday trade. So pretty much most weeks right now we've got those, and it's going to change. Maybe the end of the day trade will stop working forever. If that happens, then we'll look for other trades, other events to trade. We also trade earnings of the FANG stocks in earnings season, because they're awesome for setting up bracket trades, and we love trading them. Our software happens to work really great with them. So keep in mind, this is a 96% discount if you take this offer. It expires Sunday at midnight. Newjobb.info, www, of course. Expires Sunday at midnight, $7. I mean, it's two people at Starbucks for coffee and a latte, and you've paid for our trade room this month. I want to spend the bulk of my evening tonight entering you all into my system so that I could see you in my trade room next week. Okay. We have trades, we have oil every week that we teach people about trading. We have natural gas that right now it's a little dangerous. So you got to be careful. Last week it happened to work. Natural gas right now is dangerous. But one of the great things that we do is, did you ever hear the Challenger report? Most people never heard of the Challenger report. So I said to myself, man, I've been looking at this report for years. I've never found anything to work that works on it. It's a 7:30 in the morning trade. I'm up early every morning looking at the markets because I am a lunatic. It is what I am. And I threw a sample trade on with the yen, with gold, and the ES on the Challenger report. I had the news off to the side because it wouldn't fit on my chart. And then look what happens exactly at 7 o'clock, 7:30, exactly. The ES pops. So I learned that maybe, and it's a maybe because it's the first time I ever looked at it, but maybes turn into IVs, IVs turn into Kaishins, Kaishins turn into oil trades, right? And that's the whole deal. That's the whole deal. You learn and you learn and you learn. Earl, we do have a price if somebody wants a lifetime membership to our software, or you can subscribe monthly. So if you send me an email, I can send you the different prices for that. So let me give you my email. Can you all see it here that it's support@joebracketbreakout.net? Support@JOBRACKET breakout.net. I'll write it down for you. Brian, I'm really bad on the phone, so tell me what you need to know in an email first. Phone calling is really hard these days, because if I can answer you an email, or if you're not sure, I'll let you come into our trade room for a day and you can talk to me in the trade room. I would rather talk to you there, because talking on the phone to me just does not give me a good use of my time. So I would rather not get phone calls. That's being honest. I don't answer my phone unless it's pre-set up by appointment, because phone calls, honest, they take up so much time. And we have so many trade rooms, Brian. You can come into my trade room and I'll stay just for you and answer all the questions that you want me to answer. And I'll turn your mic on and we can do it in the trade room. It's much better use of time. So here's my email. And time for me is I want to test the markets and look at stuff so I can bring new things into the trade room. So support at joebrackettbreakout.net. If it's something we absolutely can't cover, then I'll break down and I will talk on the phone. More questions. So Harry wants to try us out. I missed all of this. The $7, you get to see all our charts, Jeff. You get to see the setups that we do. We don't like, for $7, we don't like have a deal where people that pay us $7 because somebody thinks it's not a lot of money, that we're not going to let you see what we do. You see everything that a $9,000 member would see. And don't get me wrong, we don't charge $9,000 for anything. But the point is, we want people to try out our trade room because we think it's an awesome place. We think it's a place that you're going to learn a lot about trading in general. It's going to help you to be a better trader with Mark. It's going to help you be a better trader with whatever system, any other systems you use. I tell people to look at us as one of the gurus, one of the educators that you use, because I know the truth. I know most of you are out there going from room to room, but I know also that all you're looking for are a couple of reliable places where you can park yourself. Okay. And we are a reliable place that you can park yourself. And for $7, you can try out, you can see if I'm on the level. 30 days for $7. Easy to cancel if you don't want to stay. We're not going to charge you. The only thing we ask is that please let us know a day or two before the month is over that you don't want to be charged again. Even PayPal. We just find that for whatever reason, people don't cancel on time, and it creates a bookkeeping nightmare of charges. Our companies charge us extra if we have to charge back money or refund money. So the only thing we ask is please just let us know in advance, a couple of days in advance, if you don't want to stay. Now, Brad asked a question that's kind of funny, because what time of day does it start? The whole thing about what we do, Brad, is we trade on a schedule. So like Monday, let's look at the real week, all right? Let's look at reality. I don't know. I sort of know what next week is going to bring, because somebody asked me in our last trade room of the day, what's happening next week? So the first place I look is Forex Factory. Okay, it's a great website. It's a great calendar. They have great information. And you should always make it a part of your trade day, whether you trade news or not, because even if you're trading Mark system, if you're trading this morning and you're trading Mark system and you don't know that the non-farm payroll's coming out and you're in the market, it could blow your trade out of the water. So you want to be aware of news anyway. So what's my point? You want my trade room on in the background so you know what news is going to affect your trade. So we got to be one of your regular places that you park yourself, because we're going to save you money even if you don't trade with us. We're going to prevent you from doing something foolish, because I'm going to warn you, get the heck out of the market if you're trading in a discretionary manner. If you know we're getting ready to trade the non-farm payroll report or GDP or CPI or US retail news, right? Do you want to be in the market? Do you want to be in the market when this trade comes out and you're trading gold? Look at this. Look at this. US retail. Watch. It's going to explode. You're trading gold and you're short. You didn't know that trade was coming out. You better pay attention to what's going on, because Otherwise, you're going to hurt yourself. We don't want you falling off your bicycle. We want you riding. We want you riding the motorcycle on the Autobahn, right? One of our marketing guys created this whole fantastic analogy about how the Autobahn is safe because they don't let you can't ride in a jalopy on the Autobahn, right? It's got to be a car that's tested. You're not going to go 90 miles an hour in a jalopy. Well, we don't want you in the market trading discretionary when there's serious news coming out. We don't want you to hurt yourself. So we look at the schedule. Maybe Canadian housing starts and building permits could be a trade. Jolts is starting to work as a trade now. Now, I don't want to give away all my secrets, okay? Uh, British manufacturing production, I know that's a trade, okay? So we go to various calendars and we find the trades. Now, I'm running out of time. I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for letting me be so enthusiastic that I really didn't even do the proper selling job that I should do. But I just can't control myself. I love this stuff so much, and I love teaching it in the trade room. And I give so much value in the trade room. It's incredible. Carlos, send me an email. Our PayPal was working fine this morning. There should be no problem. Send me an email, and I can't imagine why there should be any problem at all. So Brad, to answer your question, so there is no day of the time that it starts. One day it might start at 8. I know that this week you've got the ECB rate announcement. That's on Thursday at 7:45. Okay, so we're going to start maybe 7:15 on Thursday. So every week it's a little bit different, but it's on a schedule that we will tell you about. Sunday, before all the schedule is set, you'll get an email with 90% accuracy. It's subject to change because sometimes the schedule changes. Jean asked the question, do you usually call trade setups and exits? Jean, I give my personal setup and exit, okay? Now, I always tell people in the trade room that I'm trading very conservatively in the room. You don't always want to follow everything that I do, but certainly if I'm trading a report live, then that report is generally safe to trade. And if if I have certain targets, you don't want to be greedy and go so much bigger than what I'm doing because I am trading not to lose, I'm trading to win. And I do call the setups and the exits. And you can see my trades before each trade, almost always in the trade room. I'll show the previous month's report and how it behaved. And we teach you how to test the trades yourself so that you learn how to do that because that's like the most important thing. You want to learn how to test the trades. So before I go again, I want to make sure I get to all the questions. Rob, it's not really a trial because we're not giving you anything that our regular trade room member doesn't get. It's just an inexpensive month. That's all it is. It's a full trade room membership. Everything that we do in the trade room, every secret trade that we work on, nothing is hidden. Okay. So you'll have access to any calendar that we use. We'll tell you every calendar we use. The whole idea of our trade room is the education. Other than the news reports on a set schedule in the trade room, hey, JT, it wasn't a full question, so I'm not sure what you're asking me. If you're asking what else do we do besides news and market open and close, we do earnings and we're always looking for other events, market movement. We used to really seriously consider an oil open trade, and then they got rid of the pits, and that trade just doesn't really exist for us anymore. So look, I've gone way over my time, folks. If you can't spend 2 lattes to come into our room and check us out, then I don't know what to say. I want to teach you about looking at the market in a way that maybe you never looked at it before. and I want to teach you to test, and testing will help with any kind of system that you get involved in. If you stay with us, we would love that. You go to newjob.info. It's an incredible deal. We take all of those cards and everything. If you have any other questions, you can reach me at support@joebrackettbreakout.net. Here is the link. The link is newjob.info, JOBB. So easy to remember. And I would love to be spending my Friday night entering all of you into my computer system as new trade room members. I can't think of anything I would enjoy more. And believe me, I'm not getting rich on $7. It's not about us getting rich. It's about creating a relationship and a community of people that want to help each other learn to be successful traders. Our website address, Brian, is thenewstraders.com. Thenewstraders.com. That's it. Easy to remember, www.thenewstraders.com. Any other questions, folks? I want to thank Mark and Rory, everybody at Rightline, for their incredible graciousness and their friendliness and just all of the great support that they've given me and my company over the years. I can't thank you guys enough. I just, the words can't say it. I love doing these things. And if there's no other questions, Dean, I'll see you in the trade room. That's like my motto. Are you from Hawaii, Dean? Because one of our partners is from Hawaii. Florida, okay. You have a Hawaiian last name. That's the only reason I was asking you. Anyway, everybody, we're really looking forward to all the new members. Hey, DR, you should send me an email because that way it's 100% guaranteed that you'll get it. There's a million people throwing information at me right now. Please send me an email and I'll send that clock to you, I promise. Support@joebrackettbreakout.net. All right. And I'll get that clock to you today. I answer my emails on the weekend. We don't close. All right. Why have email if you don't answer it on the weekend? $7, 30 days in our trade room, newjob.info. There's nothing else I can say except we want to see you in the room. Will you get an email for the setup? With the trade room only, DR, you'll get every Sunday, you'll get a what's up video, a schedule, and a link for the trade room. It's a single link. We use GoToWebinar right now, and it's very reliable. We've been using it for years, and you'll be all set. It's very simple. There's not really a setup because remember, you're basically a trade room member. So you're going to watch us trade, learn about how we trade. And then trust me, if you want to use it, you'll see our software. If at some point you want to use our software, I'll make you a deal and a half to become a member. I'm not looking to jack up the price on you because I got you cheap in my trade room. That's not what we do, okay? And you'll know the minute you come in the trade room and see the way that we behave and the way that we interact with our members, you'll know that I'm an honest person and that, yes, of course, I want to make money with members, but my most important goal in life is to help you to make money first. If I had to categorize the importance of the things that I do, it's number one, to teach in the trade room. Number two is to make money. And that's the absolute truth. It's not money first, it's to have you make money. There's nothing that makes me feel better than when a member makes money in my trade room and sends me a live picture of their trade from that day. That's the most awesome thing. We also join our YouTube channel. When I send you an email, I'll send you a link to our YouTube channel. We're going to be doing a lot more streaming and a lot more stuff on our YouTube channel. We'd really love if you do that as well. Okay, folks, and I'll send everyone that came to this webinar a little email. You know what? You'll get too many emails because I'm going to bug you to join our trade room. So it expires Sunday night at midnight. Sign up tonight. It's going to be awesome to get you in the room. And I want to thank everybody. I spent way too much time. I got to go. So DR, thanks for signing up. Whole bunch of people signed up. Thanks, Mark. Rory, I'll see everybody in the trade room. Have a great weekend, everybody. www.newjobjobb.info. $7. Good night, folks.